Hey, it's me again, Gladys. I was working with my calculus kids today, and we were like telling funny stories and stuff like that. And something they said made me remember this story. Oh my gosh, it was so funny. So I thought maybe I should tell it to you. You have to understand that my family is very, very talented, especially my brother, Leroy. He's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. And he was in Special Forces and Green Beret and all that stuff. He was just really awesome. Well, we grew up just making something out of nothing, and we would take parts and put together and make something wonderful. Well, this was when we were older, and I decided I wanted to make a garden. So I told him, I said, Leroy, can you, I drove up by my dad's place, and I knew that all the real gardeners had tillers, and I needed a tiller. Well, I saw an old tiller sitting outside my dad's garage. I said, can you fix that thing where I can use it? He said, well, I think the engine's blown on it, but there's an old go-kart sitting over here, and I can take the engine off that, and I can put it on that tiller, and I can make that thing work. I said, would you do that for me? He said, why, sure. So he got busy, and he fixed it up, and he called me, and he said, listen, sis, I've got your tiller ready. And so he said, come on out here and get it. And so I went out, and I picked it up, and we loaded it, and he said, now listen, I got to give you some instructions on this. I said, okay. He said, you know, this engine's kind of old, and it might smoke a little bit. He said, just keep an eye on the oil and make sure you put oil in it, and it'll all be good. He said, but it'll be okay. It'll do what you want. I said, okay. So I brought it home, and I was ready to dig some dirt. I was going to make myself a garden. So I got to my little spot, and I cranked it up. Sure enough, she smoked a little bit, and she smoked a good bit. He said he'd quit smoking after a while, so I just took his word for it. So I put my tiller in the garden, and I pulled the handle, and she took off. Boy, did she take off. Wow. I thought, wow, this is hard. This is really hard. So I started pulling on it and stuff like that, and it just kept going. Well, I was running behind the tiller, and the thing just kept smoking. Well, I kept going and going and going. I remembered he said it'll smoke for a little while, but it'll quit smoking. Well, it didn't quit smoking, and I kept digging dirt. I was worn out. That thing was I was running behind it trying to keep up with it, but boy, she was turning some dirt. That thing could really dig. Well, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse on the smoking part, and, you know, I have a very sensitive nose. So I just went, and pretty soon I couldn't breathe, and I couldn't see either. So I stood up on my tiptoes, and I started running through the garden on my tiptoes, trying to till my ground. Finally, it just got the best of me, and I thought, I can't do this. I just can't do this. So I turned the tiller off. Well, I looked up after the smoke cleared. The entire valley was filled with smoke. It looked like there was a forest fire or something up in the valley. I live at the end of the cove, you know, and the mountains kind of trap everything. And so I thought, oh, my. I don't know if I'm cut out to be a gardener, if this is what gardening is. And so I came walking up the backyard. Well, my husband met me at the back door. He said, honey, you go buy yourself a new tiller. He said, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. You were running through the garden on your tiptoes trying to get above the smoke so you could see. Well, it wasn't good, but you know what I got out of that deal? I got myself a brand new tiller. Actually, two. One that's like one of those little bitty ones, and a great big size one. He told me that was worth it, totally. Watching me try to till that garden. was. Bless her heart. At least this time she finally just gave up.